A couple of weeks ago, EA had announced that they'd be shutting down the servers for a few of their games, most notably being Mirror's Edge Catalyst, along with Crysis 3 and a couple of others, and that this would be taking place at the end of 2023. Now, normally I would make a video covering this news. I was away from YouTube for that period of time. I'm only now just kind of getting back into the frame of things, but it's actually a good thing I didn't report on it because I would have had to have made this follow-up video anyway. I actually don't see a lot of people reporting on this, and I think it's because EA's kind of been very quiet on this. They haven't made an official announcement other than, actually announcing that these games would be having their servers shut down. It was just something that they kind of quietly, went ahead and took upon themselves to do. So what am I talking about specifically? If you're not aware, yes, Mirror's Edge Catalyst was slated to have its server shut down along with a couple of other games at the end of this year. I was going to announce that I'd be doing a special live stream for this and would be kind of celebrating the game as well as saying, one last farewell and goodbye, as I typically do for some of these high-profile multiplayer games that do have their servers shut down. I was going to do something in a similar capacity to that. However, EA had just updated the server shutdown page. They actually have a page which is a complete database of all of their games and exactly when those servers were shut down and multiplayer support stopped ceasing to exist, which is excellent. And if you go to the EA website, the page with all this information, and you look for Mirror's Edge Catalyst, it is no longer a part of that page. So this allegedly now brings up the question whether they made this an error, whether they decided, the support that we're putting into this game, it's not so much work anyway, we're just going to keep it online. Again, EA has not made any specific announcement or anything regarding the change of plans for Mirror's Edge Catalyst and Crysis 3. Both of those games specifically were removed from this list and are no longer a part, allegedly, of the servers being shut down. So I wanted to kind of make an update video and talk about this here. Now, this is very different to the news that we had kind of, I think, earlier this year or late last year. I forgot exactly when it was, when the original Mirror's Edge game was going to be delisted from storefronts. This effectively was going to make the game only available to those who had physical copies. Again, if you already purchased it digitally, you would have access to that download forever, or so they claim, but it would no longer allow you the ability to purchase that game on digital storefronts anymore. And then due to the backlash that the community and just a lot of people gave EA for taking what is essentially a single player game and completely delisting it from storefronts, they decided to renege on their original plans and keep the game active and available on the storefronts for everyone to purchase, which is great. This, however, is very different. Now, Mirror's Edge, the original game, had its servers shut down earlier this year in January, and all that did was it basically took off the online components, which just come in the form of leaderboards, so you can no longer compete with the public timings and best times and speed runs and stuff like that for the game. You can still participate in the time trials, you can still play those offline, but you can no longer compare your stats with the actual rest of the world, and that's all it was. Now, that was to be expected. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised that it lasted as long as it did, but in any case, that was like 15 years of basically online support that the original Mirror's Edge had, which is awesome, and I think that is great. Now, Mirror's Edge Catalyst is a bit different because we're talking essentially about, at this point, what is it, an 8-year-old game, a 7-8-year-old game, and already we were concerned about having its server shut down. Now, similar to the original Mirror's Edge, all this would really mean in reality would be that time trials would become inaccessible. And not specifically your custom time trials, but the time trials of your friends, leaderboards, beat LEs, which are basically like little things where if you get to like the top of a building or a hard to reach spot, you can leave a little locator beacon that basically is like an "I was here" identifier in a way. I actually don't really know anyone who really utilized those, but it was part of the game anyway. and it would make those basically inaccessible and no longer you can no longer see them anymore. Now, in of itself, you might argue that only the hardcore fans would want to see stuff like this continue, that the rest of the core game is still online, and you do have a point. However, the time trials are actually used for a much larger purpose than just racing against your friends and the rest of the world. Time trials, and what it's actually turned into right now with the Mirror's Edge community, is that you can access specific parts of the map that are inaccessible otherwise. So if someone found a way to get to, let's say, an area that is out of bounds outside of the normal game map, and it has collision and you can run around and, you know, do whatever you want in there, they would use time trials as a way of giving you public access to get to those locations without having to kind of glitch your way over there. And so I actually have a couple of time trials saved on my personal game that give me access to previous levels that, you know, you would only be able to access if you replayed the level, and only within the single player capacity. I can now go back to those levels or those areas at any time throughout the free roam just by accessing the time trial section. And that's what you see a lot of people who have kind of glitched the game and modded the game. They use these time trials as a tool for them to be able to access these areas. And for the general consumer, it's great because you can actually, you know, spend a lot of time exploring these areas, finding different areas and ways to kind of move around and do some cool stuff in without having basically the main mission and the enemies within the area to kind of bother you around in. So outside of just racing against your friends, that is what time trials were really used for, and that is why you've seen some people from the community kind of upset about this decision, is that it would basically block off access to some of those areas, because if you don't know how to glitch over there, or if it's extremely difficult, it basically negates the teleportation process of getting over there without having to put any work in, which is a bit unfortunate, I might add. So again, the good news is I don't see anyone talking about this, because you saw a lot of news sites kind of report Mirror's Edge Catalyst is being shut down, Crysis 3 is being shut down, and these other EA games are also being shut down. And now that EA's updated the page and removed most notably those two games, no one's really reporting on it either. So again, EA has not made an official statement regarding this. They've only removed these games from the list. It's been about a week now, and there's been no update, and I assume they're just going to be like hush-hush about it and not say anything. But if you are a newcomer, and I would expect that EA, you know, wants to stay organized and isn't sitting here, you know, just being annoying or not caring about their database. You know, at the end of the day, this database is not only used for a consumer perspective, but also for their records as well. And so I would expect that this also essentially means that Mirror's Edge Catalyst is no longer having its servers shut down at the end of November, I believe the date was. Now, if anything does change, I will update you guys in a video here. My original plan was, typically what I do is, you know, I record an hour gameplay of me playing through the multiplayer of some of these games being shut down. But what I was going to do instead for Mirror's Edge Catalyst, because it's not competitive multiplayer in a direct sense, it's just time trials, I was going to do a special live stream where I'm going back and doing these time trials. Some of you guys have created custom time trials for me back when I was covering the game when it was brand new, and so I was going to do that and try to best my own time, and it was going to be like this large live stream basically of just me kind of you know, walking around and exploring and just kind of trying to best my personal times back when the game was relevant and stuff, and I was really playing it heavily. So that will happen only if the servers are in fact getting shut down accordingly. However, if this is actually true and EA is no longer shutting down the game servers, then there's no need for that live stream, but that will be something that definitely I will do when that eventual time happens for sure. So I just wanted to make a video and update you guys because I didn't cover the news originally when it did come out, and this is something that I typically do keep you guys informed on, at least when it comes to Mirror's Edge specifically. I know a lot of my fan base is also Mirror's Edge fans, and no one seems to be talking about the fact that the game's being taken off that list. So I will leave links and articles in the description of this video so you can see yourself, and unless there's another update, I guess I'll see you guys later, all right? Have a good one, and we'll talk soon.